All eyes will be on Ghislaine Maxwell today, the ex-girlfriend and longtime associate of late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell is set to appear in a Manhattan court today by video link. The British socialite will face a judge and at least one of her accusers at a bail hearing, which will determine whether she stays in prison until her trial. Now, Maxwell faces charges that she recruited girls, some underage, for Epstein. She is expected, we can tell you, to plead not guilty. For more on this, our Chase team has reached Lisa Bloom in Los Angeles. She's a lawyer. She represents one of Ghislaine Maxwell's accusers. She also represents several women who say they were abused by late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. I want to get right to it, Lisa, and welcome to the program. Obviously, a significant day for Ghislaine Maxwell, but let me ask you this. On the other, front, how significant is today for your client?
It's a big day for my clients because they've been waiting for justice for decades. First against Jeffrey Epstein, who was allowed to escape justice last year by taking his own life in jail. And now against Ghislaine Maxwell, who's accused of really being the one who recruited a lot of young women and girls to come to him and ultimately were sexually abused by him. So we are looking for Ghislaine to be denied bail. She's seeking to get out pending trial. We think she is a flight risk. We agree with the prosecution, and we hope that she is kept behind bars so she can't escape.
But if she does get bail, will that be a huge hit to your clients, sending some sort of message?
It will be very disappointing to my clients. It will be a hard day for them because she has 3 passports. She has over $20 million. She has what looks like indications that she was attempting to escape. She had her cell phone wrapped in foil to try to evade authorities finding out where she was via GPS. And she could escape. She could escape by any number of means, by boat, by car, to any number of places. So it will be very disappointing to us if she is granted bail.
I'm sure they must have been disappointed when Jeffrey Epstein himself could not stand trial after, the official reports of committing suicide in his cell. But I'm wondering if Ghislaine Maxwell, is she going to be a stand-in for Jeffrey Epstein, or will this be a whole other dimension in this case?
Well, Suhana, I think you put your finger on it. She is, in a sense, a stand-in for him, and she was at his side for decades. Many of my clients say that because Ghislaine and other female recruiters were the ones who reached out to them, they trusted them because they were women in a way that they would not have trusted Jeffrey Epstein if out of the blue he approached them at a restaurant or at a modeling agency. And so they were lured into this life, they say, of sexual abuse, which haunts them to this day. So it's very important to us that we get justice against Ghislaine Maxwell.
And in that haunting, what conversations have you been hearing with your clients? I'm wondering if one ever gets over this, or if that haunting continues. What does it take, I suppose?
You're right. And post-traumatic stress disorder, which is what all of my 6 clients suffer from, those who have claims against the Epstein estate, it's a lifelong condition. It's a chronic condition. There is no cure for PTSD. It can be managed with therapy, sometimes with medication, but it never really goes away. I believe that justice is healing, and when someone is finally brought to justice, in Ghislaine Maxwell's case, if she serves time in prison, significant time for her crimes, that will help. But my clients to this day are suffering emotionally from what was done to them.
Ultimately, though, I have to ask you, isn't justice innocence until proven guilty?
Absolutely. And the state has to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm pleased that they have 3 victims who are not named at this point, who apparently are willing to testify. I would hope that they have put the case together with sufficient evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt when they get to trial.
In terms of the emotional scale of this case, how do you rate it? We're in the middle of a pandemic. People are worried about not being able to see their family, about, having to find a ventilator for their great aunt, whatever it may be. Where does this fall on the scale of Americans caring?
Well, I think Americans do care about justice, just as Canadians or anybody else does. We care about justice a great deal. You know, for my clients, they are suffering from the pandemic, just like everyone else, from job losses. But the emotional pain of having been repeatedly sexually abused at a young age is very much present. They just hear the name Ghislaine Maxwell and they're triggered. It sends them reeling. You know, it wasn't necessarily a happy day for them when they heard of the arrest because they had to relive the trauma. So again, I think justice is very important here.
So let me just ask you one more time. Today, as we watch this Ghislaine Maxwell appear in court via video, what are you hoping for at the end of this hearing?
We're hoping that the judge says no to her request for bail. We are hoping that the rich and powerful do not get a pass, as they so often do in the American justice system. We're hoping that the judge looks at the facts which indicate that she is a flight risk and keep her incarcerated until trial so that justice can be done.
I want to thank you for your time, Lisa. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Suhana. Have a nice day.
You too. Lisa Bloom is a lawyer who represents one of Ghislaine Maxwell's accusers, and we reached her in L.A.